Hey you guys, welcome to this episode of Setting the Hook TV. I'm your host Dylan. Today, this week's topic is Texas rig. What is a Texas rig? What's the purpose, etc. So every time I explain to people how I fish, what I use, etc., I always say, oh, I get a soft plastic, craw chunk, etc., and you Texas rig it. They say, what is that? So this is what we're going to do. We're going to show you what a Texas rig. What is the Texas rig? Texas rig is where you make any soft plastic weedless with proper hook placement. So believe it or not, any soft plastic you have, doesn't matter if it's a swim bait, stick worm, craw chunk, frogs, any type of soft plastic can be rigged weedless with proper hook placement. So this is what it's going to be. Got a little drawing for you. Did my very best. So we'll see how it goes. So this is a drawing of a power worm. Red is the worm, black is the hook. With proper hook placement, you actually set the hook, put it through the worm once, come out twice, and the top of the hook is actually going to sit on the top there, just below the surface of the bait, and that is considered weedless. What you can actually do with that is you can fish these right through the weeds, you know, like Texas rig. I'll go in the middle of the weed beds, put your tungsten weight on it. We'll get into another episode of how to do that. And you basically take one of these baits, Texas rig. You can see the hook is right there at the top. And you actually, fish live in the weeds, so as we all know, as my previous videos of locating the fish, when they're in the weeds, you need a bait to get in the weeds. So you take your bait, you rig it up weedless, it's perfect, okay? I can fish this in the heaviest cover. A lot of guys, you can use them for punching. You can use baits like these for punching. Any of these can be used for punching with weights on it. Or if you just want weight to get your bait down to the bottom quick, it can be in wide open, no weeds, just rocks, such as your swim bait. Stuff like that. This is the perfect way to do it. So start. Any soft plastic can be rigged weedless. We can use our stupid Senkos. We have the favorite craw chunks. You got your power worms. Even frogs. Rig these weedless. Any soft plastic. So how we're going to do that. So again, with proper hook placement is how we're going to do it. So what I have here is we're going to have a simple craw chunk. Okay, I believe this is the Havoc Pit Boss, and then hooks, we'll get into another video of that because I'm going to try and keep these videos under 5 minutes for you guys. So we have a hook. This is an extra wide gap hook, EWG, very popular for this. You want to use extra wide gap hooks for Texas rigging on big bulky baits such as craw chunks and frogs. When you are using power worms like this, you want to use different hooks, and I'll get into that in a minute. So Texas rig, how we're going to do it is you're going to take your hook, make sure you go on the belly of the bait. We're actually going to feed the bait straight down the middle, just right up to the bend like that. And then you're actually going to pop the hook out of it like that. Alright, hope you guys can see me with that background. You're going to slide this all the way up to the top. Basically, till it right comes out, just have enough on the eyelid. And at this point, you would already have your line tied to this hook. So you would do this with it on. So then what you want to do is you take your hook and you want to rotate it 180 degrees. So the hook is going to be coming out the top like this, coming into the belly. And what we're going to do is how to have better match placement is we're going to push this hook through, just hold it up to the bait and find out on where the soft plastic that the main part of the hook is going to pop out. So then what you're going to do, you're going to turn the whole bait over. You're going to take your hook and basically put it in the bait. Push it so it comes right up through the back here. And then if you guys can see that, the hook is right embedded right there at the top. You can just barely see the back. I'll pull the hook down so you can see it. So the hook is popping through the bait right in the middle. It's important to keep everything center. So when you have it like that, that's exactly what it's going to look like. And what you do is you just bring this bait up so you guys can see there. The little part, the sharpest part of the hook is actually going to be embedded in a little bit in the back of the skin of the bait. You just want to bring this bait up. And if you look, that is perfectly weedless. You run your finger on it. I can feel the hook, but I cannot feel the point, and it does not catch my finger, which makes it weedless. And then because you already have your line tied on, you don't have to worry about it, but you can actually push this bait up over the eyelid of the hook, and there's your proper Texas rig plastic. Alright, So, sorry I'm sweating here, guys. It's really hot in here today. It's like 12, 13 degrees outside. Don't have the heat on, but I got all the windows open. So, again, you could do that with anything. So that's with your basic craw chunk. So with your craw chunks in your Texas rig frogs, you guys can see I got the hook embedded in the top. You just want to slide the bait up just enough so, I don't know if you guys can see that. The top of the hook is right on the back, and the point of the hook is just parallel with the skin that you can actually rub your finger across. But if you push any pressure down on the weight on the lure like this, the hook will actually expose and boom. So what this allows you to do is, again, so with this frog, this is a weighted frog. The hook isn't weighted, but you can put a tungsten weight on it. I believe the soft pack's just a little bit heavy, so it can take you just below the surface into the weeds. So you cast this out, and what this allows you to do is rip the frog through the weeds. Fish look up, they see it, it's in cover, perfect ambush point, fish come out, get it. But when you're ripping this through the weeds, with the hook embedded, it doesn't get caught by the weeds. You can take it all through the weeds. Because we all know what happens if that hook is exposed like that. You start fishing through that, you're going to get hung up, absolutely. So, by doing the Texas rig, it is weedless. You get Texas rig swim baits, same thing. This is a weighted hook I have. You can buy them at any Bass Pro, Canadian Tire, Cabela's, any sale, any of those stores, any tackle stores. Again, rigged, weedless. I got the top of the hook embedded, popping out right there. Again, you can use these for in light weeded areas. You don't want to use swim baits in really heavy weeded areas. So, you have that. So with a different hook for our power worms this is an offset worm hook you guys want to use. So the difference between an offset worm hook and an extra wide gap is the wide gap is a bigger hook and it's used for big bulkier baits. So your craw chunks, your frogs, any stuff like that. These smaller offset worm hooks are obviously for the worms. They're just smaller. So again, same thing. Hopefully you guys can see this here. So we're going to put the hook just right down the middle of the bait like that. We're going to, oh, messed up there, so stay with me. Alright, so we have it right to the top of the hook, top of the worm with the bait. We're going to pop it out. On average, it should be about 1/4 of an inch from the top of the bait that you should be popping it out. We're going to slide that right to the top, right to the eye of the hook, like this. Then you rotate it in to rotate the hook inward. So the hook is now popping out of the bait. So as you hook it, so as you turn it inward, the hook is still not in the bait yet, but it's in perfect alignment. And then what we're going to do is we are going to take the bait, take the hook and feed it through the bait and push it through, make sure everything's lined up until everything pops out like this. So we just get past the barb. And if you guys can see that, top of the hook is right there, just popping out of the bait. I run my finger across, it is not catching. Perfect bait. However, how you set the hook, so what happens is when the fish comes, get it, you feel your fish is on, you're going to wind down your slack, you're going to load it, and then as you set the hook, obviously when it's in its mouth, by you setting the hook hard, it's actually going to pop that hook right out and drive that hook right into the fish's mouth, hooks it, fish on. So that's why in a lot of bass tournaments and when you see a lot of the professional anglers down south, stuff like that, flipping in the weeds, when you see them reel down a fish like this, put all the weight body into it and snap it up like that, that's what they're doing. They have Texas rig stuff on and they're making sure they're getting enough power with that hook set to drive this hook through the bait, get it into the fish's mouth, into a nice hard hook set, and so they can bring that fish out quick and get it in the boat and then off with your way. So again, you have your worm hook and your craw chunks. So I don't know why I held up a frog. I think I was just using an example. Anyway, so for your frogs, topwater frogs, these are Texas rig, but the hooks are so exposed at the top, but they're just really close to the bait. So bottom line, Texas rig, you can go through it. Use it on craw chunk, swim baits, frogs, power worms, any type of worm you can Texas rig. Hope this video helps you guys. I try to keep it under 5 minutes, but we're up to 10 right now. So Stay tuned for the next video on to how to rig this up with weights and bobber stoppers, that type of line, etc. So thanks again for tuning in, and stay tuned.